Welcome, welcome. We are back with another Revenue Exchange. I'll be doing this one solo again this week. We have a lot we need to talk about. So, first off, I want to ground today's episode in a concept we've been chatting on over the past 3 years from a ForgeX standpoint, but now we're just starting to continuously see this come to light, and it's now surfacing a new problem. And this is the convergence, the integration of integrated campaigns teams, account-based marketing teams, demand generation teams, campaigns teams. We have field marketing in this mix as well. And what's happening is when you go out and you're looking for an ABM role, you are going to come across so many different role types. And we've now hit this converging point where it's an identity crisis. And so we're going to talk about that for the majority of the episode today. And then I also want to get into a few other nitpicky topics, especially some questions that we've heard inside of the ForgeX community. But before we get rolling, huge shout out to our sponsors of this episode today for making it freely available to all. First off, we have Propensity, and Propensity is the only contact level ABM platform with AI that automates personalized B2B campaigns. If your team is generating account lists but struggling to turn them into pipeline, Propensity closes that gap by activating buying group contacts inside your existing workflows. See how it works? Go check them out at propensity.com. We're actually doing some things with the Propensity platform right now. I can't share all, but our entire ForgeX team is living and breathing inside of this day in and day out, as well as Follows. Follows is another sponsor of today's episode. And with Follows, AI can draft your ABM campaign in an hour. Follows deploys it live per account and captures what each one engages with. Follows is another platform. I mean, we're only taking on sponsors that we actually use. And Follows, we've been a Follows customer for the past couple years now at this point. We've been using their platform, and we use it for just about anything you can imagine when it comes to building custom landing pages or custom sites. And now with the MCP connector into Claude, we're doing things that were never possible in the speed or scale or coding capabilities that just you could not do 5-10 years ago. So truly incredible. Huge shout out to our sponsors. Go check them both out. But with that being said, let's get into the core of today's podcast episode. And I have some proof that I wanted to start this show off with. So I've been a broken record for the past 3 years talking about the convergence of ABM and demand gen. It's so blatantly obvious. It was 36 months ago. It is today. You're now seeing it happen in real life. And we have a plethora of examples around this. Specifically, our executive council, maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago at this point, we had an entire meeting where we were talking about the convergence. But one thing that kept surfacing up was the fact that field marketing is now so ingrained in ABM. And when you actually go out and look at a few titles of roles, I went in LinkedIn, go do this yourself because you're going to find it really interesting. Plug in ABM, look at the roles that pop up. The first couple you see director, ABM and field marketing. Quote from the actual LinkedIn job posting, owning one-to-one account planning and high-touch executive engagement programs and events. Next one. This is from Autodesk. The previous one was from Samsara. Autodesk is hiring a senior manager, ABM and field marketing. Quote from the listing, you will bring together the precision of ABM and the scale and relationship building power of field marketing. I have 2 more for you. QuinStreet is hiring a event and ABM marketing manager. What they're doing in terms of a job description quote is execute integrated multi-channel field marketing programs and utilize account-based marketing best practices. We've been speaking on that for the past 3 years. We built the entirety of our ForgeX company off of that notion. Another one from Reputation. They're hiring a field marketing and ABM manager, of which literally the same exact quote from the other one. There must be some type of, maybe it's ChatGPT that's spinning these up, or people are just reusing job postings, but they said the same exact thing where it was execute integrated multi-channel field marketing programs, including webinars, virtual events, in-person events, direct mail, and other. So what's happening here? You have 4 examples of companies, and these are not small companies. You have Autodesk, you have Samsara. These are not hypergrowth startups. We are talking actual billion-dollar organizations who are bringing together ABM and field marketing into one specific role. That is not the only case that we're seeing. If you go and you search ABM, you're going to see integrated marketing in ABM. You're going to see, we saw an example where it was demand generation, ABM, field marketing, and they were just combining all of these different jumbled terms around how to describe the title for the person that they're looking for. And at the end of the day, we're hitting this era of an identity crisis behind what is this role. Are they demand gen? Are they integrated campaigns? Are they ABM? Are they field marketing? How do you define what this person does? Because ultimately, they are building these multi-channel integrated campaigns that are leveraging account-based marketing best practices that have been tried, tested, and proven over the past 20 plus years. And they're doing this to a target account portfolio that is selected not just by marketing, but in conjunction, in tandem, in partnership with the sales team and sometimes customer success if they're working on an expansion side or on a cross-sell, upsell, or retention. But what's ultimately happening here, ABM for the past 20 plus years has never been a siloed act where it was just deeply specialized and ingrained in one function. You were always working cross-functionally with all of these other marketing teams. You'd have conversations with a demand gen leader. You'd have conversations with field marketing to help run some of your events. Also layer on deep executive level or experiential style events for your actual target account list with the field marketing teams. And you would do that with demand gen as well. You would work to repurpose or leverage or tailor, tweak some of the things that maybe the demand generation team was curating. And now in 2026 and moving forwards, the concept of a unified account investment strategy is what all of these companies are working to institute and embed inside of their organization. And what I mean by that is there's an AI component to this, but the biggest thing to think about here is what was ABM overall? ABM was not just something where I'm going to pick a single account and treat it as a market of one. It sounds so fancy, or it sounds conceptually, okay, I understand that. I'm going to do all of these things or be the CMO for one account or a few different accounts or a small subset. Maybe it's a cluster of 25 or less, 12 or less. Maybe you're practicing deep one-to-one where you have 4 accounts as one practitioner. And you're actually going in incredibly in this massive depth around these specific accounts. That's where ABM initially started if you go way, way back. And then when some of the ABM vendors hooked into it, that's when you started to see this scale, especially given the fact that you need more volume for some of these tech plays or some of these digital plays. And how do you get your targeting and how do you get your personalization scaled across more accounts? Because that means more usage of the tools. So where am I going with all of this? First off, there's an identity crisis happening. These VPs of marketing do not know what to name this role. These heads of revenue marketing do not know what to name these roles. These heads of demand generation, they do not know what to name these. It is a massive identity crisis. And the problem all stems from this account investment strategy, which is ultimately ABM at the end of the day. It is merely investing more budget, resources, and calories or human capacity, shout out to Josie, into specific accounts that justify the level of capital investment because of the revenue potential that you can yield. And that's all ABM ever was. It's so hard to conceptualize ABM for most. And what people want to do is they want to put ABM in a box or silo it away and just say, oh, here, this is this ABM thing. We have demand gen over here or integrated campaigns over here. And we're maybe going to take some best practices from ABM and we're going to throw them into integrated campaigns. It's all the same at the end of the day. You have this massive convergence. You had demand generation, which was running rampant, trying to go after MQLs. You were pursuing 30,000 plus accounts, and it was just mass scaled volume plays. It was not conducive of being a great steward of your actual resources that you have. It was not yielding you the ROI. It was incredibly wasteful. And ABM were getting deeply focused and targeted around a specific subset of accounts and investing properly. It yields higher results. You can do it effectively at scale. And this is what the leading companies are doing. And when we talk about this identity crisis behind the titles for what this role actually entails, the identity crisis is happening because at the end of the day, just about everything is ABM. And there are so many, everything should be ABM. ABM, or a account-based go-to-market strategy, is at the core of everything you should be doing as a B2B marketing function that does not sell mass volume of incredibly light-priced services or products. That is what ABM, if you have a 50K plus ACV, you should be doing ABM. You should have an account-based go-to-market strategy. It is at the center, and all other functions should be revolving around your unified strategy. It's an account investment strategy. How do you determine how much calories, human capacity, resources, and budget that you are allocating towards a specific account? That's all it is at the end of the day. And when you look at field marketing, I just want to go back and I want to talk about some of the things that were mentioned in here. So you have, I think Autodesk actually explained this really, really nicely, and so did QuinStreet, where you have, quote, from the job description, you will bring together the precision of ABM and the scale and relationship building power of field marketing. Because ABM, if you are practicing in deploying deep one-to-one or one-to-few, you are going to be executing and investing capital and human capacity in building out these experiential events or multiple different styles of maybe executive type events or in-account demo days or something tacked on to a larger industry event specific for that one account or a few accounts. Just like Samsara mentioned, they are high-touch executive engagement programs and events. And what QuinStreet said is you are utilizing account-based marketing best practices. That's what all of these roles are talking about, because VPs and CMOs are now waking up to the fact that ABM, the principles that were part of it, should be the underlying foundation for all other marketing roles, which is why you see ABM tacked on to just about every single style of these roles. So the big piece to take away here is we're in this identity crisis phase. Everyone is trying to figure out what we call it. AI is absolutely not helping with a title perspective because AI is helping a lot of things to collapse, as in what was once deemed only eligible from an investment standpoint for one-to-one or one-to-few is now scaling across thousands of accounts, and it's so much cheaper and it's so much faster to do. I'll give you an example: account research, content. And the biggest thing that is now being utilized for one-to-one is how do I layer on additional investment for other things like field marketing style events or those really, really deep executive engagement VIP type of experiences. How do I layer that on along with more human judgment and taste? Because if you're executing and deploying one-to-one ABM, let's say, for example, you're probably going to have some form of deal size or revenue potential inside of these accounts that's $1 million plus minimum. So let's say $35 million deals are what you're going after. Your company probably has invested in a sales team, maybe 1 to 2, maybe a full team of AEs that are dedicated just to this account or have a very small subset of accounts. You'll see this across organizations that have $100 million revenue potential inside of these events, sometimes billion. I've seen billion personally inside of a Salesforce instance, and it's very unique and very cool to see. But think about the ROI that these companies are getting in terms of, okay, I'm just going to take, let's say, 200K, 250 all in on an ABM leader to deploy one-to-one who has experience doing it. I'll layer on some budget, let's say 500K. I'll layer on 500K, maybe I'll layer on $1 million. And all in for 12 months, this ABM leader is going to cover 4 accounts, and each account has 50 million, 100 million plus in terms of revenue potential. I'm already investing in a seller or a team of sellers that's covering each one of these accounts. So I'm also going to put a designated marketing investment on top so that I can get their human judgment, their human taste, so that they can build these curated, really bespoke, personalized events and experiences for the executive team so that they can partner deeply with sales and give that added marketing support because the revenue potential is so high that it absolutely makes sense to take the bet and invest in a designated marketer on those accounts. And that, going back to this whole concept of a account investment strategy, you're thinking revenue potential. You're thinking in terms of ROI on my investment of a marketing practitioner, of a, whatever we're going to call them, ABM field marketing, integrated campaigns, demand generation, revenue marketer, growth marketer, all those names. At the end of the day, it's just converging into how do I execute some form of ABM, and how do I also think about what form of ABM makes the most sense to deploy. Something that I saw on LinkedIn, it brought up an incredible debate, which I think was great for maybe 8 years ago, 5 years ago, which is ABM can't scale. That is just incredibly false. I think it is a great conversation or a great question for if you go in the archives, maybe on YouTube, maybe go look at some companies that have since been acquired and find some webinars or podcasts on this topic, which was so much fun to debate. But we're in 2026. That's just not a question anymore. It's not a debate. It's so antiquated in terms of thinking. We've been talking about this for 3+ years at ForgeX. So many of the leading organizations have already adopted this. When you look across the conversation we were just having around why are all these companies throwing ABM in the mix with these titles, or why are they adopting account-based principles at scale? Oh, because it's less wasteful. Oh, because you get stronger relationship with sales. You're going to have yield higher results in terms of pipeline and close one because you're layering on extremely targeted support and being very intentional with your budget, resources, and capacity across a specific named list of target accounts. And I understand why people want to have this whole debate, why they want to label ABM as just something for a small subset of accounts. If you're selling something that is deeply personalized, maybe that's why you want to make that argument. Again, I don't know. I don't fully get it. I don't understand why we're still talking about this in 2026. Especially when you look at the tech, when you look at AI. I mean, the stuff that you can do from a personalization standpoint, building custom landing pages. Go check out our AI and ABM benchmark report from this year. We just launched it a few weeks ago. Go have a look at the channel mix, because what we did was we segmented high performers versus all other teams. And when you look at what high performers were doing, personalized landing pages were something immediately in the top 3 channels that they're leveraging. And they're doing that at scale. They're using AI. They're using AI far more across things like direct mail than lagging teams. It's no longer the 2010s. That era is gone. We need to embrace AI. We need to embrace where we are, the technology that we have, not only from a channel perspective, but also the technology that we have from a targeting and segmentation perspective. Think about your target account list like a target account portfolio. Now, stocks, it's not the best analogy, but it clicks in my head where if you think about how much you are investing inside of each one of these accounts, I like to think about the accounts almost like a company that I'm investing in to yield a return in terms of stock. Now you're looking at your first party, second party, third party signals, maybe some triggers as well. You're having conversations with the sales team. You're looking at technographics, firmographics, fit, all of the ICP definitions and whatnot, all of these different components to build your target account portfolio. And in that target account portfolio, that is where you are determining which accounts or which stocks you're going to put more of your resources, budget, and capacity into because you believe that you're going to yield a high return. And you're going to layer on more inside of accounts because there's a level of risk that is also assumed with pursuing the accounts. And that level of risk is the level of investment that you're making. Think about this. If you are deploying one-to-one ABM, let's say you're doing one to few and you're covering 50 accounts. You better make sure that the math's on those accounts. And you have to be incredibly intentional with which ones you pick. The risk of going really narrow is those accounts don't convert. And if those accounts don't convert, you're going to be staring down your VP, your CRO in the QBR at the end of the year, and you're not going to have anything to show for the budget investments that you made, the resources that you used internally, the capacity that they're paying for in terms of your salary and your investment. And you're going to have to say and answer to all the questions as to why it didn't work. That's the risk. That's the risk of one-to-one and one-to-few. The more accounts that you cover, the less risk that you assume. But conversely, with the risk comes high reward. The ROI on revenue potential that's $100 million, and you have 4 accounts, you close one of those, you're going to be sitting real comfy and probably going out to eat at a very nice steak dinner, maybe going out to President's Club with some of the AEs who also were working that deal for 12, 18 months plus. So you have to think, ABM can scale. It can scale. It's 2026. It's the underlying foundation for how good B2B marketing should be executed. Gone are the days of having the debates around demand gen versus ABM. It's just not the case anymore. Your demand gen efforts, your integrated campaigns, integrated marketing, field marketing, everything should revolve around your target account portfolio. The identity crisis around how to name the titles of B2B marketers, don't worry about that. Don't focus on that. What you should be focused on are 2 things. How do I build my unified account investment strategy? How do I define the levels of capacity, of resources and budget that I'm investing inside of my target account portfolio? And how do I pick the right accounts to invest in my target account portfolio? And how do I make sure that I'm doing that across the entirety of all go-to-market or all revenue teams? That is what you should be focused on in 2026. We should not be having the debate around can ABM scale or having the debate around personalization. How do we, you can't do personalization at scale. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's not what you should be focused on. One, personalization. If you go have a conversation with 5 of the bleeding edge vendors, and you will see that you can scale personalization. There's still some level of human judgment that absolutely needs to be in there. But you give it 12, 24, 36 months. I mean, the personalization conversation is going to be geared far more towards relevance and far more towards originality. That's where we're headed. It's not can I just take all of these signals, or can I scrape LinkedIn data or any other data from the 10Ks in terms of the company to get incredibly targeted? The person, maybe I went out and I had my Claude listen to transcripts from the actual person I'm trying to target, and they gathered all this information and then drafted a personalized landing page specific for the person. Oh, by the way, it did it in a matter of minutes versus a matter of days with lengthy SLAs, partnering with my web team. Yeah, all I had to do was connect through MCP, and then I had my custom landing page, taking custom content, building ROI calculators, doing all of these different things. It can happen at scale. It can happen really fast. A level of taste is needed, a level of demitigating risk as well for those high revenue potential accounts. That's also critically important, as in every email, every landing page, every piece of copy that's going to touch an account that is multi-million dollars in terms of revenue potential, you're damn well sure I'm going to make sure that everything has taste and that everything is clean and tight and not AI slop. That is part of your account investment strategy, as in what accounts are you willing to take the risk on, be able to do personalization at scale and build that machine, versus which ones require more human capacity. It's all part of your target account portfolio, and that target account portfolio, you're making sure you're choosing the right accounts, you're defining the levels of investment in each account, and you're doing that across all revenue teams. That is the future of B2B marketing. That's where we are. That's where all of these revenue marketing platforms, ABM platforms, whatever you want to go to market platforms, you name it, that's where they're all going right now. When you look at the space, you have to go check out some of the players in this MarTech category. They're all trying to get into AI. They're all having these internal conversations, or they have this internal struggle behind, am I going to build a chat bot that's AI native? Am I going to build it internally? Something that mimics a Claude or ChatGPT? Do I put significant investment there? Or do I put more investment on becoming headless in terms of a UI? And do I put more investment in a bet in that? And then from that bet, do I believe that people are just going to be operating inside of these AI windows or a single pane like a Claude? That's where they're all going. The piece that every single one of them is missing, and I keep trying to tell them, because they're all also getting into orchestration. They're trying to become that single platform. All of them are. This isn't just one single person to name out, or one single company to name out. This is just what they're all doing. Go look at their websites. Look at how they're releasing their products. And so what's so fascinating about this is that's going to be the big conversation. And I have a lot of startups that I've been advising, and that is also a big decision point for them. It's, how much do I invest in my custom AI UI right now versus headless? And I'll tell you my opinion on this. I'm betting the house on a headless interface. That, to me, having conversations, this is more of a qualitative insight, as in having 30 plus conversations, is probably 40 or 50 at this point over the past month and a half, with ABM leaders, demand gen leaders, VPs of marketing, CMOs, and just speaking about what AI looks like now, what AI looks like on their roadmap, or where they want it to go. Undoubtedly so, all of these platforms are right in terms of consolidation, but the piece that they're missing, there are two of them. One is they need to be going all in on headless. They need to be going all in on the MCP, the API. And then the second piece that it kills me. I don't know why nobody has done this. I'm not saying I'm going to raise or going to bootstrap this, but I keep trying to tell them to think about the account investment strategy. If you could layer on inside of your orchestration engine that you're building, which actually is really cool. You should, even if you're not in the market, go find some type of demo and look at how these companies are building these orchestration engines. It's very, very cool. And what you need to do is also, I would love to see these companies not merely just talk about in-market accounts from intent or from engagement, but also talk about revenue potential and talk about investment. I want to see a go-to-market platform that looks more like a stock trader, where it's, okay, I believe that these accounts are going to yield XYZ amount of investment. We believe we should, from an orchestration perspective, invest boom, boom, boom. And that is where I'd love to see the future go. That's where I think it is going. And not only that, you're going to scale your account investment strategy. Your target account portfolio is going to be something that is just about every marketing leader is going to be talking about. And so this whole identity crisis around what to call the titles, is it ABM? Are we just going to call them demand gen? Are we going to call it growth marketing, revenue marketing, field marketing? Are we going to take one of those and just slap ABM on the back of a demand generation title or a field marketing title? Go ahead, do it. Because at the end of the day, there are two things you need to be doing in any of these roles. Think about your account investment strategy. How much am I going to invest? Think about building your target account portfolio. How do I choose the right accounts to invest in? Those are the big things that you should be deeply focused on. And then measurement and reporting, we could spend a whole podcast getting into that. But I will give you a quick insight on the measurement and reporting. We have some clients that we're working with in this regard. And so one piece that I'm finding so fascinating, because the wave or the tsunami is just about to hit. The storm is coming and we're not even close to being in the eye of it. Around these companies are now looking at Databricks and Snowflake, and they're building their dashboards directly in there. And their marketing ops, the rev ops team is loving it. And they're actually using things like Codex to help build out these dashboards. And what I believe we're going to see is finally measurement and reporting that is 10x stronger than the Salesforce reports that you're probably spinning up. And then you go to Salesforce, you go to Demandbase, you go to Propensity, you go to 6sense, you go to Follows, Mutiny, all these other companies, Sendoso, ReachDesk, and you're just pulling all of these different reports and trying to conjoin it all together on some type of slide or some type of scorecard. And where I believe we are ultimately going to go, all of this data, all of the engagement data, all of everything that you need to leverage on both an account level and a contact level, all of that is going to live in your data warehouse or your data lake. So you're going to take all the data, you're going to push it in there. AI is going to help sort it, make sense of it, and then build dashboards that are far more robust, far more actionable with what specifically you need. So you'll have dashboards, but you'll also be able to query this data inside of your ChatGPT, Claude, whatever instance, Glean. You'll be able to query it all. Pull it like that. Will had an awesome question inside of our community. And it comes around, what 1 to 2 channels are you all diving deep into this year or next year? And he said, for me, it's LinkedIn ads and gifting. So this came from a LinkedIn post that I shared maybe about a week ago at this point. And one of the points was around entrepreneurship and starting Forgex, what it's been like over the past 3+ years as we've been building this company. One of the mantras, I heard this first on a podcast by Alex Hormozy. He said it and it definitely clicked. And it was simple scales, fancy fails. And what I said in this post was trying to generate marketing content for every single channel on day one isn't going to work. You don't have the bandwidth. Pick 1 to 2 and go incredibly deep. This same concept spans into everything. So Will's question was, what are you doing this year? Talk a little bit about ForgeX and where we're going from a channel perspective. The biggest ones that have always worked for us are LinkedIn. That by far is our biggest channel, and then community. And it's funny because community isn't really a product for us. It was more so a byproduct of what the market didn't have, and we just wanted to fill that gap and then layer our company on top of it. And our monetization model, we aren't trying to have people pay to join the community. I think that's silly. I have emotional ties to this as well because when I was an ABM leader, I went to Scale AI. I wanted to join one of the leading communities at the time around ABM. I didn't care about anything other than going in and networking with 1,000+ people. I think they had 2,000+ at the time. I just wanted to speak with my peers. I wanted to bounce some ideas. I wanted to get some advice, and I wanted to do it at a scale without having to go out and throw 100+ DMs to all the people that I wanted to talk with. I just wanted a place where I could put a question, get an answer, get a response. And they quoted me a discounted 5-figure price tag that I wasn't going to pay out of pocket, and I wasn't even going to ask my boss for at the time. So that was one of the biggest reasons for the ForgeX community. We have over 1,000 members inside today, but community and LinkedIn, those are our biggest channels. We're also really, really building out our newsletter too. Go subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the ForgeX files. I'm writing each one of those personally. It's my favorite thing to do every week, and we're launching them on a weekly basis. But from a channel perspective, we're really working on our distribution. Huge shout out to Eric Whitlake, one of our GTM advisors and research analysts that we partner with here at ForgeX. He just finished earlier today a research webinar on the 2026 State of AI in ABM benchmark report. Go read that. Check out the on-demand version. Thank you so much for joining this episode this week. Let me know who you would like to hear in terms of a guest. I'm thinking we bring on someone who's going really deep on the AI side, or we could open one of these up and just entirely do it live. I think that would be really fun too, just to answer all of your questions in the studio. But thank you so much for joining. Toss any other questions that you have around this, comments. If you disagree or you're seeing a perspective that is different than what we are or what our research is showing, please let me know. You can call me out on blast on LinkedIn or DM me privately. But thank you so much for joining. Can't wait to see you on our next episode. And for all of those who are based in the US, have a great 4th of July holiday. I hope you did.